poking around, and here's the Coleman 502. So we'll just talk a little bit about 502 today. I love this stove. I love this stove. It's one of my favorite stoves. You know, somebody who loves stoves is called a stovey or a stoveaholic. Anyway, stovey, stoveaholic, whatever you want to call somebody who loves stoves. Yeah. Anyway, I'll admit I'm a member. I've got a few. I don't have a gajillion like some guys, but I have a few. This is my absolute favorite gas burner. And I have a Bush Buddy, wood burner. I have a Siege Stoves kit with one of the IKEA utensil holders, which is really cool. I like that a lot. I've got a couple of Coleman 533s. This is Coleman 502. I've got a couple of the little tiny screw-on jobs that go on the butane type canisters, that sort of thing. And I've got a big suitcase stove, the Coleman 414 dual fuel. I rebuilt that one here a few years ago, and now it's perfect. It works like brand new. And but the thing is why do I have all these stoves? Well, I have stoves for different purposes, different situations. I mean, I can, thankfully, thank God, thankfully I have the ability to have several different stoves, to have a little bit of a little collection of stoves, and to be able to talk about stuff with you. I saw recently a fellow online that I've known a many years. He's become homeless recently, but I know he's a tough guy. He'll get out of the situation. But I just want him to know that he's in my prayers. That may mean something to you, man, or it may not. Don't know, but you are in my prayers. And you know who you are. But the thing is in my course of life, the long life that I've had, I have been homeless a couple times. So it can be tough. It can be tough. But you know what? Guys like us, we can take care of ourselves. We can get ourselves back on our feet. And, a lot of people have looked at me, and, they might think that I'm rich or something. I'm not rich. I just been through a lot. I've had a long life. I've done a lot of things. All this crap you see around me is the results of the fruits of my endeavors. Yeah. So let's get on to the Coleman 502. So what is this, you might ask? Well, this is a collapsible water bowl. Sometimes you gotta wash your fingers and hands, right? So why that's in there, I don't know. I put it in there at some point for something. Anyway, so this is the Coleman 502. The Coleman 502. It's my very favorite stove. Very favorite. It's from 1967. 1967. It's an oldie. I keep it in this this felt tartan bag. What I got in here? It's a extra. This is an extra cap. Okay, so it's got the regular cap, right? Which I'll tighten down now. Make sure I got plenty of fuel. I keep plenty of fuel generally in my stoves because you never know when you need to use it. It better have fuel in it, you know. And stove fuel, especially Coleman brand, which uses additives to keep the fuel more stable for years, it's better. Now that right there, folks, what this is this is a way to pressurize, okay, pressurize your fuel tank if your fuel pump takes a crap. But you need a tire pump. Here's the way you do it. You put this cap on in place of your other cap, and it has a tire pump valve there. I can't remember what they call these valves. It's a particular type, Schrader valve, I think. Yeah. So, thank you, Jesus. See, my memory ain't totally blown, you know. So, I try to remember the key stuff, you know. Put food in your mouth this morning or else you will die. So anyway, the thing is that like this Schrader valve here, you could get these at old Coleman parts. Now somebody, you know, came up with this neat idea. Whoever did, thank you. It's a great idea. And they put a Schrader valve in a brass cap, right? So then all you need is a tire pump to pump up your tank on your stove. All right, so set that aside there because I'm not going to use it right now. Brought this morning. All right. Schrader valved cap. Yeah. Alright, so you can tell that this stove is a little bit different. It has a pump, it has a cap, it has a tank, okay? Just like your typical Coleman, you know, single burner backpacking stove. It has in addition this section here, which is where the fuel enters the generator. Okay, the generator goes across the top into your typical valve. Okay, and you have a valve over here, right? So an additional valve. This is an on-off valve. This is a fuel valve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pump this baby up. Pump her up. Right, 25 pumps. This valve right here, they say to open it all the way up, but I don't. I'm only going to open it up about a quarter of a turns. And then I'm going to open this valve after I've got this lit. Alright, so I'm going to light my little barbecue thing here. See how much quieter that is than the other one? Put that over there. You're going to let that sit there and heat up that generator tube. See, it's already blue. Open my valve a little bit more. Now it's fully open. Just open it about a turn and a half. So I'm going to give it a few more pumps since I've got it on. You can see it's going to have a little bit more sound to it when you put more pumps in it. So if you vary the amount of pumps that you put into it, you know, keep them low, then you'll get less sound. Try to be quieter, you know what I mean? You can also just turn it down. You see how that is? You can't even hardly see that flame. It's almost out. It's still on. That's enough to warm your food. See, that's what I like about this Coleman 502. You can use this in a tactical to semi-tactical situation. You know, you can't use it if somebody's like right over there, you know. But in a general use, yes. Backpackers that have been somewhat like, you know, cooking aficionados in the past have loved this stove because you could put it really, really low. It'd still have, you could have stuff on just barely heated as you're going. You know what I mean? Just less than simmer even. It's really low. And I could turn it up. And the thing about this valve is that you could turn it all the way around and it doesn't, you know. And again, just like with the Coleman 533 on the last video, to keep that clean, just move it back and forth a few times. And that needle, you know, that needle that goes back and forth, okay, there's a little rod in there with a point on it. Okay, it's like a needle, it's just a long wire. And that keeps the debris from building up, okay, so the tube doesn't get clogged. Once you've opened the valve over here for fuel, you don't need to mess with that anymore. All of your fine control is right here. Alright, so that's the lowest setting. Now if I want to turn this off, I just shut this fuel valve. Alright. Full on. Just make sure it's just turned off. You don't have to crank it at all. You'll damage it if you over crank. So don't get in your head that you gotta crank everything. Okay? It's just the way it is. You just turn it off. It's a valve. Just turn it off. Turn it on. Turn it off. See? Burn off that extra fumes. Yeah. So, right. So turn this all the way down. I'm going to turn this up. I'm going to turn this on. Since I've been running it, it's already, the the generator tube is already heated. I mean, this thing is so low. I'm going to show this to you. Let me bring it over there. This thing is so low. See? See that? See how low that is? So this is your fuel control valve. This is your fine adjustment. Shut that down. Let that burn off. To let it burn off, just turn it on full. It'll blow the excess fuel out and burn it off, right? That's all there is to it. This is the Coleman 502. And it has a full heavy duty pot support right there. You know, you want to cook on a regular skillet, you can put it on there. You know, you can put a regular skillet on there. I wouldn't suggest going crazy with a Dutch oven or anything like that, but I'm talking about just, you know, a regular 8-inch skillet. You just put it right on there, you know. Cook up whatever you need to cook up. There you go. So that's the Coleman 502. That's the Coleman 502. I got the 533 I had on here yesterday, right here. Just a little comparison. Little comparison. All right. Okay, let's crank this one up. Coleman 502. See, this fine adjust, you know, you can control it. It does not necessarily have to, you know, flame up. I mean, a lot of people just put it on full blast every time they turn it on. You don't necessarily have to do that. Just put the flame there and just turn it to where it's coming out, you know, vaporizing if you can, if it's not too cold. If it's, I mean, this has been sitting here overnight. But the thing is that if it's not too cold, then you should be able to get a blue flame fairly quickly. Now that's all the way up. And that's all the way up on this one. You can hear that thing. Not much adjustment on the 533. Not much adjustment. They didn't make them with as fine of adjustment in these later years. What you hear is that. That's still on. This is on the lowest setting. Let's see how low I can get this one. Not as low as that one. This one right here you turn off by just shutting off this valve, because this valve is the whole valve. That is fuel valve and fine adjust. This valve is fuel valve and fine adjust. So that's going to sit there now and burn off. You know, it'll go out. It'll burn the excess fuel and then it'll go out. This one still. Now what I'll do is I just turn this fuel valve off, blow out the extra fuel, burn off. That one's out. This one's still burning off the end of the fuel. Okay, now it's out. Now it's out. Alright, so the Coleman 533, excellent stove. This stove, however, the 502, is a better stove. If you can get one of these in excellent condition, I really highly recommend it. If all you can get is one of these, you can probably still find those new on the shelf somewhere. Get it. You know, I could safely say that with care you could go 4 to 5 days on a tank of fuel. You know, if you're not going crazy using it all the time, just using it to eat a couple times a day maybe, you know, that sort of thing. And maybe heating water up for coffee or cocoa or something like that, you know, you're looking at, you know, 3 to 5 days on a tank, using it at least a couple times a day. Yeah. Anyway, the Coleman 533, the Coleman 502. Definitely something to have in your kit. You know, you just don't want to be without a good stove. I mean, I have a Primus stove in the other room there. It takes multiple different fuels, but it needs an external bottle, you know. It is what it is. I've got alcohol stove. There's a Swedish military alcohol stove right there. And this is the actual Swedish military one. L.V.I makes that. Got the Bush Buddy over there. I got this wood burner over here. Siege stoves kit. This is my setup here. This is my Siege stoves kit with the IKEA container that I can burn stuff in. Also in here is a Morse pot, stainless steel Morse pot, made by another company though, not made by Four Dogs. The Four Dogs pot is is more true to the Morse pot than this one, but it's aluminum. And I don't use aluminum pots at all, or cups, or anything like that for years, years and years. Got enough problems. I don't need more aluminum in my diet, or as some say, aluminium. So I don't need more of that in my diet. So this particular setup here, this has got eating utensils. It's got stuff to wipe the pot out, and it's got fire starting stuff. I mean, it's got everything I need right there. So then I got my gas burners. Got the Bush Buddy over there. The Bush Buddy was a long wait. It's like 8-9 months, something like that, for the Bush Buddy. But the thing about the Bush Buddy is that it is made in Alaska. There used to be originally made in Canada. The guy that came up with the Bush Buddy trained. He apprenticed the guy in Alaska to build those, and it's really a top quality piece of kit there. So if you're looking for a stove like that, a wood stove like that, it gasifies and it burns all of the material that you put in it, all the wood in there, and it's just a really good little stove. It's just something to use. It's something to use, right? I mean, the thing is that in these days, in these end days, right, we have to be flexible. We have to be flexible. We have to be flexible with our fuels. We have to be flexible with, our stoves, and so on. That's just the way it is. Now, so you see this candle here? Now, this candle holder has bits of 3 or 4 candles to make another candle. So I just took bits of 3 or 4 other candles to make this candle. And it's ready to go now. It's ready to go now. The fact is that it doesn't matter if the candles are different colors, as long as they're viable. These were all beeswax candles, and these particular candles came from a company that uses essential oils, natural essential oils to create any odors or whatever. So I mean, this is just for around the house. In a tactical situation, you don't want any odors at all. You want absolutely pure beeswax. When beeswax burns and it doesn't have any kind of essential oils in it, if it's just pure beeswax, yellow beeswax, you'll see it's yellow. The beeswax burns off into the atmosphere. It just burns away. It doesn't make any smell, when you use a pure beeswax candle. So like when I have my candles that I got for my little, candle lantern, they're beeswax. I don't use any of the other garbage candles, those white candles that are paraffin and whatnot. No. Pure beeswax. Because when they burn, everything burns off into the atmosphere. They don't drip. If you have a tapered candle and you light it at the top, and it's 100% beeswax, it won't have any dripping. the candle wax just burns off into the atmosphere. Isn't that cool? Yeah. Keeps things a little bit more tidy. Okay, so we talked about the 533 yesterday. One of my viewers was having problems with his Coleman 533. He just had a yellow flame. You know, he'd turn it on, it'd flare up yellow, it'd stay yellow and never turn blue. You know, I would say dump the fuel responsibly, right? Dump it into a container, use it for something else. Use it to clean paintbrushes or something if you're into painting or something, you know. Or if you have a fireplace, use it on, you know, wood to start the wood in your fireplace, because it will, you know, still light up and everything. But the thing is that you'll want to change out that fuel, and you'll want to make sure that that generator tube is clear. And, you know, like I said in the video, just move the valve back and forth and back and forth. What that does is it makes that wire, you know, move inside of the generator tube. And that cleans out crud along with burning fresh fuel. If you use real Coleman fuel, you know, official Coleman fuel, it does have additives in it that helps to keep it more stable and burn clean for a very long time. You know, I've used 40-year-old Coleman fuel in my dad's lantern. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it still went. You know, it still went up. It still burnt. You know, but yeah, change fuel. Either clean the generator tube or put a new one. If it's really bad, you don't think you can recover it, put a new one. But generally, I mean, it's metal. You know, you should be able to clean it. Leave it in alcohol or kerosene for a week. You know, put it, you know, then go ahead and wipe it down, put it back on the stove, and then proceed to move that needle rod back and forth a bunch of times. Go ahead and try lighting it up, and then, you know, try to work that needle back and forth inside that tube, and it should clear up. It should, you know, that soaking, if you soak it for a week in alcohol or white gas, or, you know, you might even use a little kerosene and then rinse it off with alcohol and wipe it down. Yeah, a little bit of extra weird fuel is, you know, it's not like a combustion engine, okay? This is a stove. You're looking to burn fuel. So, if you soaked it in a little kerosene or something like that, I don't think it'd really bother it at all, you know. You just got to get it going. You got to get it going. Once you get it going and it burns off all the crud, and you keep moving that needle valve, you know, until it works all the crap out and burns it off, and then it will come back. It will come back. Can't have a video without coffee, right? The one vice I have, but I don't consider it a vice. Kook doctors consider it a vice. You should limit your coffee intake to 2 cups a day. You should mind your own business, fake doctor. I don't hold with MDs. Nope. When I was young, I was looking to become an acupuncturist and herbologist and Eastern medicine. I was looking into that, but It was too expensive. I started studying a bit. I've got some books on it. One time I was so sick that I stayed up most of the night reading this uh, traditional Chinese medicine book with all the meridians and the points and everything. And I finally figured out my best course of action with acupuncture. And I had some needles. I've had friends who were acupuncturists. So they gave me, they gave me some acupuncture needles, brand new in the case. And anyway, I figured out, okay, this is going to be the best course of action. And I stuck the needles in my arm and the hand, and I left them in for longer than they said in the book, because I really felt bad. I wanted it to work. Some people will say, well, you just willed it to work. No, I didn't. I really believe that what the course of action I followed actually worked. And after that, I became a real uh, believer in Eastern medicine over Western medicine, because I wouldn't be able to do half the things that I could do today if I hadn't been, worked over by, a traditional medicine, a traditional Chinese medicine medical doctor, might not even be able to walk. So, I'm a believer in it. As long as you got somebody who really knows what they're doing, and the person that I used to go to at one time was, they were trained in China in traditional medicine and herbology and stuff. But the thing is that I was so sick. I was like, this was my last resort, So I mean, there was no doctor available, and you would have to go to the hospital to be seen, and I wasn't doing that. So anyway, I stuck the needles in. I think that it was about 45 minutes that they were supposed to be in. I left them in for an hour, so I gave it a few extra minutes, just to be sure. I got the needles in at the proper depth, the proper angles, and so on, the proper meridian. And anyway, that hour went by. I took the needles out, and let me tell you what happened. Anything and everything that was in my lungs came up. I started having these coughing fits. After I took the needles out, it wasn't 5 minutes when I took the needles out. I started having these coughing fits. I went to the bathroom, to the sink, and I coughed up, I don't know how much crud from my lungs. I mean, I wasn't forcing it out. It came out on its own. It came out on its own. It was the body reacting to what I had done. It came out, just very forcefully. All this crap in the sink. And let me tell you, not 30 minutes later, I felt so much better. And I could breathe easy. It was the real deal. Yeah. I still have that book. I'll bring it out. I'll bring the book out so I can share it with you on video, and maybe get a copy for yourself. I highly do not I do not recommend that you teach yourself acupuncture. I don't. That's not what this is about. I'm just telling you that when you're in a certain position, that sometimes you get a little desperate when it comes to uh, healing yourself or something like that. I gotta get better. I gotta get better. I gotta feel better. I got things to do, you know. So sometimes you get that type of a situation, you know. I never liked regular medical doctors. I never liked them. I think, you know, I feel like they're putting a band-aid on problems. Yeah, let's just prescribe them this drug and put a band-aid on it, and it'll go away. It won't cure the root cause or whatever. You know, so that's why I started looking into herbology and acupuncture and all that stuff. And you know, I've been a martial arts guy all my life and everything. Um, you know, it is what it is. So I mean, I'm a Christian. You know, but that has nothing. That doesn't that doesn't interfere with my there is no religious connection with Eastern medicine for me. Some guys get into Eastern medicine and then they start getting into Eastern religion because of, for whatever reason. Some guys I've known have married, you know, Asian women and they have gotten into Eastern religions or what. I'm not that way. I am not that way. There's only one way. There's only one way. That's Jesus. Jesus is the way. But anyway, somebody will probably be out there saying, well, why don't you ask Jesus for a cure? You know, I mean, the thing is, Jesus, you know, he's still with us. He's still with us. We have the Holy Spirit. So Jesus is still with us, you know, but Jesus put herbs on this earth for us to use. As a matter of fact, I'll be going out to collect some nettles later. Either I'm going to collect nettles today or tomorrow because I got a whole field full of them basically. And, you know, people classify them as a weed, but the reality is nettles are one of the most nutritious wild plants that you can gather and fix for yourself. Tea, you can make a tincture, you know, you can eat it, you just boil it, eat it, you know, you get all these vitamins. Yeah, nettles. Of all of the different things that I have eaten over the years, nettles is one of the things that I um, have found to be just healthier for you than any other type of plant. Yeah, and I eat meat, so but you know, you need your vitamins. You need your vitamins. You know, you need vegetables to help your meat. When you eat meat, you really need vegetables. It helps the proteins go into the cell. You know, and there's a whole lot of biochemistry going on there. You know, so we are omnivores. God created us to be omnivores. You know, we can eat vegetables, we can eat meat. You know, matter of fact, in the book of Timothy, uh, the book of Timothy uh, will tell you that abstaining from meats and whatnot is doctrines of devils, right? I think it's 1 Timothy 4 or something like that. Yeah. So that whole idea of being a vegetarian or being a vegan, no. Doctrines of devils. You're an omnivore. God created you that way. Think of it as being more flexible. The more things you can eat, the better off you are. Yep. Keeps you more flexible in that manner. Yep. All right. Well, that's been the Coleman 502, and as we have discovered over the years, uh, unleaded gas will work in Coleman products that are designed to be used with Coleman fuel or Coleman white gas. Okay, unleaded fuel will work in those. Uh, Old Coleman parts. That's where you're going to find that Schrader valved uh, fuel cap. Old Coleman parts. There's another guy named Frank, also. Old Town Coleman, I think, is his channel. He does a lot of restoration videos for Coleman products. He used to be a Coleman tech, so he knows what he's talking about. He's got a lot of good stuff going on that channel, so go check out his channel. He's also a veteran. If that makes a difference to you, then he is a veteran. I think he had been a Marine, if I remember correctly. Frank at Old Coleman Parts. And then Old Town Coleman has so many Coleman parts for so many Coleman products. You need to check them out. If they don't have something, they generally will have it made for the company, which of course you could buy from them, and it is what it is. Even if you find a rare part that costs a bit, this stuff lasts practically forever. So buy once, cry once. Don't be a wiener. Just buy it. Okay? Just buy it. Don't be a whining wiener. No. Just buy it and get it done. That's all I got to say about that. Just buy it and get it done. Don't whine about prices on stuff. I mean, if you need it, you need it. If you need it, you need it. It is what it is. Buy once, cry once. That's it. That's all I got to say about that. Guys, I got things to do, so I'm going to let you go. Get these stoves, depressurize these stoves, get them put away. And, yeah. Coleman 502 today. Coleman 533 yesterday. And, what else? I think that's all I got to talk about today. Alright? Catch you later. Oh, and don't forget, beeswax on your candles. Beeswax. Don't buy that paraffin crap. Don't buy that other soy crap. Don't buy that. Buy beeswax. Better for you, burns longer. God bless you.